The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
When Nicole Sandler sits down to do her show, she's the producer, booking the guests, pulling the audio, planning the show, the engineer, running the controls, troubleshooting any problems, playing the sounds, calling the guests, and she's the webmaster, writing the blog, posting the podcast, maintaining the website, not to mention the host, interviewing the guests, explaining the issues, giving opinions, and calling out the bad guys, and then you get the Nicole Sandler Show on NicoleSandler.com.
To abolish a system so arcane. The Electoral College is unfair and insane. A few votes in a few states choose our president, screwing all the blue states, causing such torment. Why can't we be like other developed countries whose leaders are chosen by popular consent? How could something with college in the title be so truly dumb? Of its bad results, I could sing a recital. The time to end it has come. Lately, the American public has started to take note. The winner has sometimes been the loser of the popular vote. That's how the last two Republican presidents were elected. And that gets my goat. This 18th century relic still carries whiffs of misogyny and racism unresolved. But unlike our adversaries, we Democrats have evolved. We need some corrections before it's too late.
You think?
Let's hold fair elections to choose our head of state. From the Electoral College, it's time to graduate.
Wait, don't turn the video off just yet. It's more than a very quick reminder that if you enjoy these weekly videos, I hope you consider supporting me on my Patreon. Thanks.
Thank you, Lauren Mayer, everybody, singing about the Electoral College and how it's time to, well, graduate. And I bring that up because, big debate is tonight, right? And I just came across this post on the shitter. Yeah, you know all about the shitters. Well, apparently, Republicans Against Trump, an organization for which I'm seeing a lot of signs here in Arizona, they just posted this video of the guy who wants to be the vice president, making a really shocking but not surprising statement. Listen to this. Here it is. Whoop. It would help if I turned up the volume. Hold on. Try again. Here we go.
He was asked to not certify it.
Sure.
So would you have certified? I'll ask you for the third
Again,
time.
I would have asked the states to submit alternative slates of electors and let the country have the debate about what actually matters and what kind of an election that we had.
You
in
wouldn't
these
have
important
certified,
states.
to be clear.
I would have asked the states to submit alternative slates of
I think
electors. That's what I would have done. Again, I've said that publicly many times. But
he was asked to not.
He would have asked the states to submit alternative electors. So fraud. He would have suggested fraud. And in fact, I didn't see the Republicans Against Trump shit tweet, but it's shitter now, so it's a shit. I saw Liz Cheney's reshit of it that says, let's be clear, this is illegal and unconstitutional. The American people had voted. The courts had ruled. The Electoral College had met and voted. The governor in every state had certified the results and sent a legal slate of electors to the Congress to be counted. The vice president has no constitutional authority to tell states to submit alternative slates of electors because his candidate lost. That is tyranny. Liz Cheney continues, our institutions held on January 6th because Mike Pence refused to violate his oath to the Constitution. Trump picked J.D. Vance because Vance will do whatever Trump wants, including violating the Constitution. They are both far too dangerous to serve. It's our duty to stop them. Liz Cheney, my God, if you had asked me, a few years ago, if I ever, would be agreeing a lot with Liz Cheney, I'd say, no way in hell. I would have taken that bet and I would have lost. Go, you guys. Wow. I thought that was pretty remarkable, right? Here we go. All right, so I'm wearing my new T-shirt, my Mind Your Own Damn Business 2024 T-shirt, because I'm going to see the future Vice President, Tim Walz, tonight. He's going to be at this debate watch party here. It's in Mesa, Arizona, right up the street. And so I'm going around. Oh, no, of course I didn't keep that open. Damn it. So I'm going through the YouTubes today looking for, fun videos to share with you. And what I come across is this. Let me see if I can bring up here. I can bring this screen up. I'm going to show you. It's on YouTube. The graphic says National Debate Watch Party with Governor Tim Walz. And that's today. It says live in 3 hours. So I'm guessing the event that I'm going to be at tonight with Governor Coach Walz will be live streamed on YouTube. So I will post. You know what I'll do? I don't know. I got to figure it out. If I can, I'll set it up to stream here. I don't know if it'll let me, but regardless, I will post the URL. First of all, I'll put it in the YouTube chat room right now. So if you're watching and listening to the show as we speak, because we are live, I just posted it in the chat room, my YouTube chat room that's live right now as we're doing the show. So you guys who are in the chat room, you can click on that and save that, and then you'll be able to watch the debate with us at the watch party here in Arizona, should you care to. So that's all happening. We have a guest today, and in fact, it's funny because somebody in the chat room said that they had watched the movie. Today is movie day. Well, it's debate day, but this is the pre-debate movie show. So there's a new film that just debuted on all the streaming services. I mean, it's on all of them. You pay a couple of bucks to watch it. But it's on Apple, it's on YouTube, it's on Prime, it's on, it's everywhere. And it's called, let me get the exact name up. It's called, and this is the wrong page. I'm having a hell of a day here. It is called Untruth, The Psychology of Trumpism. And so when I was getting the show all set up and I log into the chat room and somebody said, I saw that the other day, but I think it's called Unfit. Don't doubt me, my friends. Unfit was the first the forerunner, the prequel to Untruth, the new one. Unfit came out 4 years ago, and in fact, Dan Partland, the director who will be with us today, was on the show 4 years ago when Unfit premiered. So it's only fitting, see how I did that? Only fitting that he's back today. So we'll talk to him. But I thought since today is movie day on the show, sort of, kind of, I'm going to play for you a trailer that was just released. This new movie will hit theaters. It's going to be in theaters only on October 11th. So a month. It's a month away. It's just 3 weeks before Election Day. But you may have read about this film that was written, was made, and then the company that made it couldn't find a distributor, couldn't find anybody who would release it because it's highly controversial. So the film is called The Apprentice. Yes, it's the movie about the former guy. And the reason they couldn't find a distributor was because it's not very complimentary of the former guy. And, he's litigious, to put it lightly, and likes to sue people. And I guess people were afraid of lawsuits. But they did find a distributor. The film opens in theaters, again, October 11th. And the trailer, just as they say in the biz, dropped.
Yes.
Hello, this is Donald Trump from Mr. Cohn. Thank you so much.
Donald who?
1, 2, 3, 4!
Roy Cohn, nice to meet you.
The Roy Cohn, you're brutal.
Guilty as charged.
How do you always win?
There's rules. The first rule is attack, attack, attack.
It's going to be the finest building in the city, maybe the country, in the world.
Uh-oh.
Rule 2, admit nothing, deny everything.
There's never been anything like this, of this magnitude, this quality. Ooh, cheese balls over here.
What are you doing?
You want one?
No, it looks totally disgusting.
Cheese balls.
Rule 3, no matter what happens, you claim victory and never admit defeat. You have to be willing to do anything to anyone to win. You have a big ass. You got to work on that.
Your face looked like an orange.
Attack, attack, attack.
Deny everything.
Admit nothing.
Never admit defeat.
What if you lost your fortune today?
Well, then maybe I'll run for president. I don't know.
I say, if you're indicted, you're invited.
Yeah. So that is the first trailer that we're seeing for just dropped, I believe, today. The Apprentice. It's going to be only in theaters on October 11th. So, look, since the pandemic, I've been to the movies twice. The same week, we saw Barbenheimer, or whatever they called it, Barbie and Oppenheimer. But those are the only times I've been to the movie theater. But I may have to go to see this one. Trump is not that good looking. RC says in the chat room. I agree. But so I may go to see that one. Either way, I did watch Untruth: The Psychology of Trumpism. Now, again, the first one was called Unfit: The Psychology of Donald Trump. So this one is the sequel, and we'll talk with. It reminds me, I need to open up the the Zoom window so that when Dan comes in, he'll be able to connect. It's been one of those days. I've been running around like a mad person all day, because right after the show ends, we're going to have to leave to to head over to the place where this rally is going to be. The watch party, the debate watch party, if you know what I mean. All right, so before Dan gets here, and we talk about the movie, let me share with you some other news, some other stuff that's going on. So let's see. Again, I opened with J.D. Vance, and I guess I need to go back to him again since I'm going to be seeing the future. Wait, hold on one second, because now, of course, I glance at the chat room, and I see Spacco wrote, watched a bit of Unfit. The director said in an interview yesterday that this film is about the problems with the public. That is very interesting. So, Spacco, if you watched Unfit, that was the first one. The new one that is just out this week is called Untruth. But this is the sequel, so they both work together. The first one was more about Trump and his mental problems. You're right. And Untruth, the new one, is more about how people are coerced into this, how they join the cult or why they join the cult, and a lot about authoritarian leaders too. So that's all in there. Anyway, sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm a little wired, not really wired, but you know. So here's the thing. Now let me see if I can find this. Is this it? No, that's not it. That's not it. Man, all right. I know I had it here somewhere, and now I can't find. Did I? Maybe I already pulled the Maybe I pulled the video. Did I? Lincoln Project ad? No. All right. Oh, this is it. Oh, okay. I need to hold on one second. I just need to fix one thing here, and hopefully it'll play. I did pull the video. Will it play now? Yes. Try again. Pets. Okay, try again. Cancel. I'm trying to change the name on it because this file has to end with MP4, and then it'll let me play, I think. Will it now? Yes, I want to change it. Damn it. It's not going to let me do it. All right. So anyway, shoot, where did I? No. This is what I get for rushing. This is the producer in me. So anyway, there's can I find it here? I'm going to find it for you. Because it's too complicated for me to tell the story. But basically, J.D. Vance, Mr. Conspiracy Theorist himself, is now spreading conspiracy theories. And this one, he's saying that Haitian migrants are eating pets. I couldn't make this up, seriously, if I tried. All right, here, I do have it. Let me see if all right, is this it? All right. Is this the video? Well, let me just read this to you because it's not the video I was looking for. Vance retweeted something or spread a rumor that Haitian immigrants are kidnapping, they're stealing pets from neighbors and eating them. You know what? I gotta find this video because it's not him. It's I think CBS News telling the story, and the reporter here did a really good job of it. And now I'm not seeing it. Damn it. No. All right. Let me just try this. All right, from Vox. Because it says J.D. Vance's racist cat-eating conspiracy theory explained as best we can. And this was written by Ian Millhiser, who I really like. And he said, apparently, when you're a Republican political candidate, you can say literally anything. So, all right. One of the most high-profile spreaders of this strange claim is J.D. Vance. On Monday morning, this was yesterday, Vance posted on the shitter the false claim that, quote, reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country. In the same tweet, he claimed that, quote, Haitian illegal immigrants are, quote, causing chaos all over Springfield, Ohio. Ian Millhiser continues. He says, for the record, there's no evidence that any Haitian immigrant ate a cat in Springfield, Ohio, or anywhere else in the United States for that matter. But the lack of factual evidence hasn't stopped the Republican Party from pushing the nativist narrative, which seems designed to play off bigotry and suspicion against the mostly black population of Haitian immigrants. And here's the tweet, because thanks to Vox and Ian Millhiser, they sent the video. They sent the tweet. And here's what J.D. Vance wrote. Months ago, I raised the issue of Haitian illegal immigrants draining social services and generally causing chaos all over Springfield,
under
Ohio.
60,000
Here we
previous
go.
residents, putting a significant strain on our resources
What?
and ability to provide ample housing for all of our residents. And
Wait a minute. I'm going to back this up to the beginning so we can hear
I'd
it.
like to ask unanimous consent to submit a letter for the record from the city of
Okay.
Springfield.
Really?
And our state, the southwestern part of our state, which I think highlights a very real example of this particular concern, straight from the horse's mouth itself. And now this letter,
The
I wanna
horse's
quote from
mouth
it.
himself.
Springfield has seen a surge in population through immigration that has significantly impacted our ability as a community to produce enough housing opportunities for all. Springfield's Haitian population has increased 15 to 20,000 over the last 4 years in a community of under 60,000 previous residents, putting a significant strain on our resources and ability to provide ample housing for all of our residents. And end quote there. And Mike.
Yeah.
No objection. So
Thank you. In my conversations with folks in Springfield, it's not just housing. They're trying to build 5,000 new housing units, which is a very Herculean task in a town of about 55,000 people. But it's also hospital services, it's school services.
Okay, point being,
There's a
how
whole
long
host
does
of
this go
ways
on?
in which this
Almost
immigration
over.
problem, I think, is having very
All right.
real
So-
human consequences.
All right, so that's the video that they tweeted out. But along with it, J.D. Vance, he said, reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country. Where is our border czar? Really? You know, there's that guy, and then there's the guy I'm going to see tonight who, now I find, okay, this is what I wanted to show you. Unbelievable.
Springfield has seen a
Let's
surge.
stop. Hold on, this tweet is still playing. I'm having one of those days. Can you tell? Where was it? Okay, hold on.
Has increased 15 to 20,000 over the
here it
last
is. Okay, here we go.
CBS News confirmed team has looked into claims by Senator J.D. Vance and Trump running mate and other conservatives that Haitian immigrants in Ohio are eating pets. And CBS News confirmed found those claims are baseless. So here's the backstory. Vance posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, yesterday discussing the impact he says undocumented immigrants are having on Springfield, Ohio. He included a claim saying, quote, reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country. At last check, the post has been viewed more than 9 million times. Our CBS News confirmed team talked to a spokesperson for the city of Springfield, Ohio. She said there are, quote, no credible reports or specific claims of pets being harmed by migrants. A county parks official said the same. It's not clear where the claim originated, but a local newspaper reported that it could be linked to a viral post in a local Facebook group.
Okay, so this is a thing. This is what they do, and what VD Jan said was, there's a chance it could be true. It is opposite world. You know, I talk about opposite world a lot, and this is just a prime example of opposite
Facts
world.
no longer matter. Reality is now fiction. There's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop, opposite world.
It is just astounding to me. And then Ted Cruz, I guess retweeted it. Wait a second. Where does this thing go to? Let's see. Ted Cruz condemned for posting racist lie about immigrants eating pets. So one guy says it and the other ones swear to it. So this is from HuffPost. after Republican vice presidential nominee, that guy, promoted a false news story alleging that Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio are supposedly abducting and eating pets. The Texas Republican decided to join in with his own anti-immigrant posts. So Cruz posted a meme with kittens that was captioned, "Please vote for Trump so Haitian immigrants don't eat us." Oh my God, it's right here. I couldn't make this up if I tried, but here, I don't have to make it up because it's right here. There it is. It's two kittens hugging, and it says, "Please vote for Trump so Haitian immigrants don't eat us." And wait, I think there's another one. Was there another one? Maybe not. Or maybe they just didn't load. What else? It says, former President Donald Trump and his MAGA followers have demonized immigrants as rapists and murderers, even though data shows that they break fewer laws than natural-born Americans. Springfield police debunked the rumor about pets being stolen and eaten on Monday. Cruz's office did not immediately respond to their inquiries about this. Where is this? Oh my God. The Springfield News-Sun article states there are no reports of pets being eaten. The rumor was started by a Facebook post claiming that their neighbor's daughter's friend had lost her cat and found it at a, sorry, I clicked on the thing to expand it. Now I lost it. Lost her cat and found it. Hold on. I can't find. And found it at a Haitian's home. Okay, so that's what it is, right? How is this race close? This is what I'm getting at. There are the serious candidates, and then there are the not so serious candidates. How the hell is this even a close race? They're busy saying Haitians, those black people who don't speak here, they don't belong here. Not only are they say something about them decapitating but now they're stealing your cats and eating them. And then, as if that's not enough with the conspiracy theories, you know who else has a conspiracy theory out? I know we haven't heard from Melania Trump lately, but she's got a book to sell. So she just put out this video. I'm telling you, it's conspiracy theory land going on now. Check this out. This really is Melania Trump in a video she released today. And I'm telling you, I'm saying it now. It's not a deep fake. It's not anything. This is real. All right, go.
The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy.
What?
I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech?
Because he didn't shoot anybody yet.
There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth.
Oh, that's it, huh? Oh, and a graphic of her book that's coming out, Melania. Order now at melaniatrump.com. So it's a commercial for her book, which I think is like a regular book, but it's priced exorbitantly. Maybe it's an NFT. I don't know. But there's some. Where do you worry? Why did not they shoot? Did not they arrest the shooter before they shot my husband? Okay. So there's that. Again, why is this race close? Then the news over the weekend is there are some new polls that show, Trump, back in the for the last month or so, it's been all about Kamala Harris's rise. And now where are we? And now they're saying that her, the momentum has slowed a little bit. Okay. They just want the horse race aspect to continue, But again, they're saying this is neck and neck. I mean, it's like, look at the polls. It's 50-50. Pennsylvania, which could decide the race, it's tied. It's a virtual tie. And even in places where Kamala Harris is a little bit ahead or Trump is ahead, it's within the margin of error. How? You know, and then I see the TV channels go around and talk to those undecideds. How can anybody be undecided at this point? You know who Trump is, right? Can you explain me that? I just don't get it. I just really don't get it. All right. Well, we're waiting. Dan Partland should be here any minute now. But so I'll tell you what we'll do is I'm going to play for you the trailer of this new movie that we'll be talking about, hopefully in a few minutes, called Untruth, the psychology of Trumpism. And I'll shoot Dan. Oh, and here he comes. So perfect timing. All right. So let me share with you the trailer, and then we'll talk with Dan Partland, the director of Untruth. Oh, I put up the wrong picture. Hold on, Dan. I'm not. You're on, but I'm not ready for you yet. We're going to put up the trailer. I'm having one of those days, just in case you're wondering. Let me back this up. Oh my goodness, I am having a day, aren't I? Okay, it goes like this.
America is irrevocably divided. Our democracy right now is hanging by a thread, literally.
Our politics have become so polarized and so damaging, we can't get anything done to reset the thing.
We're gathered together in the heart of our nation's capital for one very basic and simple reason: to save our democracy.
Party, it will become something unrecognizable, more so than it already is.
Trump, in one respect, is an epiphenomenon. He's a result of something else that's been happening that's much bigger. The problem is what led to Trump and Trumpism.
There is such a thing as fake news. It's called propaganda and disinformation. Donald Trump could carry out the manipulation of the people who never really watch legitimate news. You can literally frame the mindset of an entire nation.
Good people can be deceived and their minds can be hacked.
This is probably the most important psychological phenomena that's occurred in this lifetime.
Trump has taken us to a place where one of our parties now is anti-democracy.
The craziest extreme has now taken over the middle.
A pandemic of mass delusion to bring down our entire society.
Untruth. Yeah, it is now available on all those streaming platforms, and I welcome back to the show Dan Partland, who is the director of Untruth. Dan, I don't know if you remember, but we spoke 4 years ago when Unfit came out.
I do remember. I don't know if I remembered all of the brilliant things I said, but I remember talking.
Right. No, and it's like, okay,
my lips were moving.
Right, and definitely, and it was just 4 years and 2 weeks ago or something like that, right, that the movie came out, and I was thinking, boy, a lot has happened since then. For instance, January 6th hadn't happened yet. In fact, the former guy was still in office when the movie Unfit came out. And that was the psychology of Donald J. Trump. Untruth, which is the sequel, I guess, the new movie that is now streaming everywhere, is the psychology of Trumpism. So you've taken it a step further, looking at the entirety of this weirdness surrounding this man. I was just going through some news of the day before you came on, and that the conspiracy theories they're putting out, J.D. Vance and the Haitians are now stealing household pets and eating them.
I did hear that, yeah.
And my question is, how is this race even close?
Yeah, no, of course. That's what I mean. So the first film, Unfit, was about the psychology of Trump himself. And that was really motivated out of a desire to take a step back from the 24-hour news cycle. The 24-hour news cycle was covering scandal after scandal. We were all consuming endless amounts of news and yet getting very little insight into the problem, or that's the way I felt. And so it was really an effort to take a step back, to not talk about any of the fine-grained details, but to try to see a bigger picture of what's happening. And when you look at the bigger picture, it was very obvious that there was something that what was unifying all of these disparate scandals and crises was just the psychology of the man himself. And once you understand the psychology of the man himself, it starts to become easier to predict what's going to happen next. And along those lines, it should be said that a lot of the experts in Unfit, we did talk about the prospect of Trump not leaving office. And we made a very deliberate effort to not, a deliberate decision to not include their answers in the movie. But yes, by and large, the experts who we spoke to in Unfit predicted that Trump would not leave office because that's consistent with his pathology as a malignant narcissist. And when we look at authoritarian, autocratic leaders from the past, it would be very easy to look at those patterns and predict that this is one of those guys who is not going to leave office gracefully. Now, the reason we didn't include it, and this is really important, is that one of the key tools of an authoritarian leader is to normalize abnormal behavior, outrageous behavior, abhorrent behavior, illegal behavior. And you see Trump is doing this all the time. He's putting out feelers, like, hey, I heard, in China, Xi eliminated term limits. Like, maybe we should try that too. By saying these things, by constantly putting stuff out there, I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. What you're doing is you're getting the public on board with something a little bit outrageous. They've heard it before, and it's not going to be so outrageous the next time they hear it. And for that reason, the expert advice was best not to do anything to normalize the idea, to begin the conversation that, of course, Trump isn't going to leave office because one of the main features of the resistance to these ideas is that they're so norm breaking, is that people are not going to accept them when they happen. They're going to be so shocking. And so whatever we can do to keep from normalizing these things before the fact is always helpful in having a resistance movement.
I got to ask you, because this brings up a question. Oops, sorry. Somebody is calling me. They need to go away. Sorry about that. The normalizing it, the repeating it. Even Kamala Harris asks, "Can you believe they put this in writing, talking about Project 2025?" I had that same question, and maybe it is so that some people would be talking about it, so that when. Not that they'll have the chance to do this, but if they did have the chance to put some of these measures into effect, that people will have heard it already and not be as shocked as they were the first time they heard it?
Absolutely. I think that's what the authors of Project 2025 had in mind, to begin normalizing it, get people on board. It suits their goals in many ways. One is they articulate a vision. The idea, it should be said that the idea with these reports that have been going on, I think it's about 40 years. I think it started around the time of Ronald Reagan, right. that these conservative policy agendas were written up really more to hold conservative politicians to account. They really wanted to say, here's what we conservatives want, and make sure that it was in writing to make it harder for conservative presidents in particular to promise them things and then not deliver on those things. So they said the tradition has been to write one of these policy documents and hand it in, and it's always coming from the sort of most extreme right-wing part of the conservative movement, to say, here are the things that we expect you to deliver on. These are our deliverables, and here's the path to it. And this one is just more outrageous than anything they've ever submitted before. It's really emboldened by the Trump era and by the idea that, in their own words, this is a weaponized form. Weaponized is the word they use, a weaponized form of conservatism that basically is what defines it is its lack of adherence to democratic ideals. There is no effort anymore at persuasion, right? That's one of the bedrock ideas of democracy, is that it's a marketplace of ideas, and ideas win or lose out by persuading the public. But what Project 2025 is really about is about implementing policy ideas where we have not built any kind of a consensus. How are we going to put unpopular ideas, minoritarian ideas, over the finish line, even with a populace that doesn't agree with these things? And the answer is, we're not going to do it by persuasion. We're going to do it by still manipulating a lot of legitimate democratic processes, and also by subverting some democratic processes through manipulating of vote totals and gerrymandering, et cetera.
And normalization. I mean, I also wonder about so many of these so-called newscasters and pundits on TV who, I guess, in an effort to appear fair and balanced, as it were, they avoid criticizing Trump for the same exact things they went overboard criticizing Joe Biden for. Joe Biden's not in the race anymore. Donald Trump is now the oldest candidate on a ticket for president ever. He shows signs of mental deterioration every day, and yet for lesser offenses, they rake Joe Biden over the coals, and yet they're silent on Donald Trump. It seems like they are normalizing him. They don't report on some of the more crazy things that he says and does, I guess, and try to act as if, well, this is normal, when it really is not.
No, it's not. And I think it's a real conundrum for news organizations to cover Trump and to cover him well, because on the one hand, what he's saying is newsworthy. It's newsworthy when, somebody says something, a political candidate, major party candidate says something outrageous, whether it's about immigration, or it's about tariffs, or it's about what was the thing from today about stealing, whatever, some conspiracy theory about eating babies or something. That's newsworthy. It's not, I don't know if it's valuable for the public to know all of that, but you couldn't really be a legitimate news organ and not say that had happened. So It's true that he said it. What he's saying is not true, but it's true that he said it, and so there's an obligation to cover that. But in the era of, there's sort of two important concepts that I think are really tying us in knots at the moment, which is one is this idea of trying to give equal coverage, which ends up resulting in what's the right term for it? Well, let me come back to it, because on the other side, so there's the false equivalencies that happen from trying to give equal coverage, right? Which is, we're going to hear from one side, and then we're going to hear from another side, and that inherently creates the perception that these two sides are equal, even if one side is completely false and illegitimate. Right. That is what the other side is saying. But the other thing that has really got them flummoxed, which I think is more to the point of what you're talking about, is this era of access media. I mean, it's not exclusive to TV visual news, but it's more of a problem for visual news. It's true for print reporting as well, that reporters need access to the candidate. Yep. And so, when you have them on the set of Meet the Press and they say something outrageous, whoever it is, not just Trump, they say something outrageous, and you nod and you say, thank you for sharing your views. In a sense, you've legitimized it. You've put it into the format of legitimate news that people have seen before in a normal box on the set of, a major news network. And that elevates a lot of political ideas that frankly are outrageous and well outside the norm. But I don't know what the solution is to that, because, I think what news has tried to do is like, well, what if we don't have those people on who are going to come on and spew lies? Right. Well, then there's a significant thing happening in the country that isn't being covered. So I think it's a delicate operation. I think it's important and difficult to do to fact check as much as possible in real time, and to not invite people on who are going to knowingly say untrue things. I think that that's a legitimate line to hold. But when they share their beliefs, even if their beliefs are outrageous, we have to find a way to cover them.
Right. Well, so a perfect example of this is, look, there's a debate tonight. In the first debate, the devastating one for Joe Biden, CNN they decided, and I think it was just a decision they made, that they weren't going to do any fact checking. And so you had Trump spewing lie after lie after lie that just went unchallenged. Seriously unchallenged, because Joe Biden certainly didn't challenge them. Now, ABC, their rule is a little more malleable. They're saying, well, we haven't said we're not going to fact check, but our goal is to keep it moving along. And so, so I'm hoping that means if Trump starts saying, well, the Democrats, they're doing infanticide, they're aborting babies after they're born, which we know is a blatant lie, it's not happening, that they will say, no, they won't say that's crazy, even though it's crazy, but they will shut that down at least and push back a little bit. But so what CNN did, I thought, was horrible, because by them not saying that, by them not saying anything, the people who are not paying close attention might think, oh shit, this is really happening, because they're not saying that's not true.
Yeah, no, it's an impossible assignment, because you have a guy who's just delivering such a fire hose of falsehoods, and again, you have this sort of paradoxical thing where it is what he's saying, and so you want people to hear, even when it's outrageous and ridiculous and wrong, but it's very difficult to keep up with it in real time and try to correct every falsehood out of his mouth.
I know.
So that's, he's gotten the news media tied in knots, and I think what, in their effort to create fairness, they've actually kind of doubled down on a false equivalency, because they're treating legitimate actors who are coming on in good faith and saying things that are true to the best of their knowledge with whatever spin they want. Spin is different than untrue things.
Exactly.
And they're really equating that with people who come on and just say knowingly untrue things.
Yeah, and which they do at an increased level, it seems. We're speaking with Dan Partland. He's the director of the new film Untruth, the Psychology of Trumpism, which is sort of the sequel to Unfit, the Psychology of Donald J. Trump. Untruth is now streaming everywhere. You can pretty much find it on Apple Plus to Prime and everything in between. You speak with a lot of psychologists and other experts in mental health to get a lot of the background. One of those people is that John Gartner, who is with, and please tell me if I'm getting any of this wrong, with the Duty to Warn Coalition, which I first learned about in Unfit. And Duty to Warn blew my mind. I'm so glad they're there. Can you tell us a little bit about who Duty to Warn is?
Yeah, Duty to Warn was started by Dr. Gartner in the wake of the 2016 election. It's a complicated concept, but I'll try to reduce it to something simple. I think Trump's mental health was a topic that was really off limits for major news media to talk about. And the reason for that goes back to the 1960s and about a lot of sort of bad science and bad politics that was done when a group of mental health professionals spoke up about what they thought Barry Goldwater's inner psychology was driven by. None of these people had met Goldwater, met with him in a clinical environment, and the state of where psychology was at the time and what the training of these people, it was all very dubious, and there were a lot of very damaging, defaming things that were said about him that were inappropriate to say, no question. And in the wake of that, the APA, the American Psychiatric Association, passed a rule in their ethical code called the Goldwater Rule, which prohibited mental health professionals from speaking publicly about a public figure's mental health if they hadn't seen them in a clinical environment. And of course, if they had seen them in a political environment, then it also would have been unethical to speak about them publicly. HIPAA, right? Well, and even before that.
Right.
So, so what duty to warn it's a countervailing ethical code, also in the APA's code, and this is called explicitly in their code an unresolved ethical dilemma, which is that psychologists also have a duty to warn. And this goes back to a case where a psychologist was meeting with a patient in a clinical environment, and the patient was talking about having thoughts and feelings and ideas about maybe killing his girlfriend. And the psychologist did nothing because he was respecting his ethical boundary to not betray a client's confidence from what was shared in their session. And of course, after the girlfriend or spouse, I've forgotten which, was murdered, this had to be revisited because, of course, if there is imminent danger, and the standard became where there is imminent danger, there is a responsibility of a mental health professional to alert the public to the danger. And so in the case of Trump, the psychological analysis that these mental health professionals are making is not based on a private discussion with him in a clinical environment about, the nature of his upbringing or anything like that. It's not based on personal details. It's based on observation of publicly available information about his actual behavior. And this is actually a much more reliable way to understand and predict how people will behave in the future than the sort of more unpacking of past traumas and things like that. That's very interesting to get insights into what makes you tick on a different level. But if you really want to understand people's future behavior, their past behavior is a very good predictor of that. And so on the basis of that, Dr. Gartner formed this coalition, the Duty to Warn Coalition, where mental health professionals were feeling like it really was their obligation as people who have studied this particular personality type to explain to the public the dangers of giving somebody with Donald Trump's characteristics too much power.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. The Duty to Warn was brought to my attention from your first film, the forerunner to this wasn't your first film, but from Unfit. And now it's interesting that, we are hearing about all the rules for tonight. Well, this is a tidbit that I didn't know until today. Let me share this from a Substack called The Fucking News. So it's a great site, thefuckingnews.substack.com. He writes, according to the rules agreed upon last week, if one of the candidates constantly interrupts the other, they'll get a verbal warning from a moderator and their remarks may be shared with the audience. It's not clear whether that means their mic will be turned on or just that the moderator will repeat what they said. But the rules also say that ABC News may decide to turn on both mics at the same time if there's significant crosstalk. We know enough about Trump's narcissism and his psychology, even as laymen, to know that he can't, I think his struggle tonight is going to be to be disciplined, but Kamala Harris can get under his skin easily, and this could, this may give her impetus to do so, to goad him to show his true colors. It could be, very uneventful tonight, or it could be really interesting.
No, I think it'll be really interesting, regardless. I think, I'm sure they're gaming all of that stuff out, and they should. But yes. I think what these films are trying to do is trying to actually take a step back from a lot of that, because that all that matters. That's what happens in politics. People are going to talk about strategy, about getting under each other's skin. But regardless of any of that, there's a bigger picture going on. The bigger picture is that for those there. The question is, why are so many people in Trump's thrall when he is so obviously, in many ways, he's incompetent. He's obviously cruel. He is interested in dividing Americans. He is interested in retribution. He is corrupt, etc. When all of this has been so thoroughly documented, why does that not affect more voters? Why are so many voters still in his thrall? And that's really the question that the film tries to understand and tries in good faith to understand it. I'm not interested in making fun of Trump supporters. I mean, 60 million people voted for him the second time.
Yeah.
After they knew all this, 60 million people. So that's not, we can't just look at that as a character defect of a few outlier people. This is a real phenomenon. There have always been people like Trump.
Yeah.
The question is, why at this moment in history is the ground soft for them to take root? That's the question. Because in another era, they would have been cast aside. Americans would have said, we're not interested in this. This is not the way forward. So there is something going on in our culture. It's a combination, I think, of all of the tremendous age of anxiety that we live in, a lot of frustration and rage against the failures of our institutions. Those anxieties are real. That rage and frustration is real. The question, if we're going to defeat Trumpism, is to understand it and offer better solutions than what Trump is offering. Now, Trump is doing what strongmen, autocrats have done through the ages, which is they're offering a valuable emotional response to a crisis. It's not a thoughtful, practical response. It's not going to solve the problem, but it does feel emotionally good. It's sort of, the demeanor of it is reassuring to people, right? When somebody goes in and they shoot up a nightclub and they kill a lot of people and they happen to be a Muslim, Trump says we need a Muslim ban. Right. We need a Muslim ban. We've got to see who's coming into our country. Well, that is, I understand that emotion. I think anybody would. Like, of course, let's go to the first obvious place. Let's not overthink this. Let's go to the problem, right? The shooting was done by a Muslim. So let's stop Muslims from coming into the country. The problem is it doesn't stand up to any scrutiny when you actually do a thoughtful analysis of the problem, that almost all of the mass shootings in America are done by people born in the United States, right? Regardless of their religious persuasion, very few of them are Muslim. In fact, the overwhelming majority are Christian and frequently have some kind of religious Christian manifesto that is found afterwards. So it's not a thoughtful response. It's ultimately, layered with a xenophobia, a racism. But what it is doing is it's making people who also had that knee-jerk reaction feel very reassured that somebody is going to take care of the problem, and they're going to do it without overthink and not being too politically correct. We much more care about getting the problem solved. The problem is, for the rest of us, is it actually isn't going to solve the problem.
Right. And you brought up the religion aspect of it. And this is also an area that you've made a film about, God and Country, about the rise of Christian nationalism in American politics. And boy, Donald Trump saw that and glommed onto it. I have no belief that he has any kind of religious beliefs at all. I'm an atheist Jew, and I probably know more about the Bible than he does. I know that 2 Corinthians is not the way you say what he alluded to at whatever Liberty University or wherever he was. And so, he's an opportunist in addition to a narcissist. It's funny, earlier in the program, I played a trailer that just dropped for another movie that opens in a month called The Apprentice. That is a fictionalized, well, it's not, it's I guess a dramedy or some sort. I don't know what it is, but it's allegedly the story of Donald Trump and how he got where he is, or to where he is now. And the trailer shows Roy Cohn had a very big part in telling him never admit defeat, never admit you were wrong, and you see how that plays into this. The fact is they couldn't get that release. They couldn't get a distribution deal for the longest time. I'm sure they were afraid of a lawsuit. I'm wondering, when you release these films, and you did this one, you did Unfit, and you've done others out of the political realm, but do you worry about a lawsuit from Trump? Or have you gotten sued or heard from his attorneys?
No, I mean, I think the reason I do think you're pointing at something that's really important, which is that with the population so divided, where you maybe have 40%, 43% has been a pretty stable floor of Trump support. When you have 43% of the public being really devoted to him, it makes it very, very hard for a mainstream entertainment company to create any content that is going to upset that population. And the same is true with the film God and Country I did with Rob Reiner about Christian nationalism. Why would a major distributor want to, risk alienating Christians? It's the biggest, in a pluralistic society of the United States, it's the biggest group, right? Now, the film God and Country is not anti-Christian. In fact, I think it's very pro-Christian. And similarly, this film is not anti-Republican or anti-conservative.
No, it isn't.
We always say it's decidedly anti-Trump, but it's completely nonpartisan. There's no policy discussion in the film. And the voices are overwhelmingly tipped to political conservatives, because I think hearing from them is the most important.
You have Joe Walsh, you have George Conway, you have a lot of those familiar critics of Trump who are trying to sound the alarm. Like, this guy's dangerous. I'm as Republican, as conservative as they come, and this guy is not that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Trump is completely non-ideological. And I think that he's getting into a lot of trouble with a lot of evangelical voters who really, were looking to him to kind of hold to his guns on the anti-abortion stance.
Right.
But now that he's seeing that has not been it's been politically valuable to him, but it's not popular with the mainstream, he's moderating his position. So, he's not ideological, but he's political, right? He understands that that's what politics is. You say what you need to say to get elected. I think all politicians do that. That's part of the business of being in politics. But I think that we hope, and with most of our most important political leaders, that under it all, the reason they're doing this is because they do believe that politics is a avenue for making a better world, for making better quality of life, for lifting people up, for lifting all people up and making a healthier, happier society. I don't think there is any part of Donald J. Trump that is interested in doing those things. So you have this very perverse thing, and this goes back to his malignant narcissism as a kind of descriptor of his personality traits, which is he's really the narcissistic high of the power itself and the desire to enrich himself and all that really does seem to be the reason. That's the reason. And he really doesn't seem very concerned about the wreckage that's left in its wake. Now, there are people out there who are going to say, oh, the economy was so good under Trump, and our public, our foreign policy, American stance in the world was stronger and all that. And some of those things can be debated on the margins.
Well, and also he inherited it from Obama.
But what I don't think can really be debated is that Trump and Trumpism and the way he has approached the country and the way he's changed our politics has really been corrosive to the American spirit. It's been divisive. It's split Americans apart rather than bringing us together. And I think that it's going to take the full force of all of the like-minded people to push back on that and say, let's end this era of division. Let's make decisions that are in the common good for everybody. No side should get everything they want, right? But Project 2025 is interested in getting whatever it wants, regardless of whether people buy in or not. But let's try to do something that's fair. Let's strengthen our democracy and change some of these minoritarian and anti-democratic systems that are really contorting our politics right now. Because there's one kind of detail that I think is really telling. There's this organization, Freedom House, is an NGO that rates countries around the world on a scale of 0 to 100. It's largely arbitrary, but they have different factors that they look at. And of course, you expect expect to see the United States at the top. We should be the freest nation in the world.
Should.
Well, we're nowhere near. We're falling. We're right over Poland last time I checked, and we're falling rapidly.
Yeah.
And one of the there's many reasons that we're falling. Some having to do with press and our information systems that have become horribly polluted.
Yeah.
Freedoms of the press that have been a little bit ebbed. Mostly, I think we have pretty good freedom of the press. But one of the biggest is that the ways in which our elections are turning out to not be representative of the will of the people. And that has to do with problems in the Electoral College system. It has to do with gerrymandering. It has to do with overreach of the courts in some cases and district maps, et cetera.
Yeah.
But I think we have to give a lot more attention to that because I don't think it can be healthy for any democratic society to have this many election cycles go down where a majority of voters don't get to choose the executive branch.
Exactly. Well, yeah, the popular vote winner is the loser in the Electoral College. It's opposite world. It makes no sense. We need to fix that. And that's how we started the show today. So look, we've come full circle. Dan Partland, thank you so much. Thank you for making these films and your other work too. I mean, I've been neglectful that I didn't mention. I mean, the work that you've done is you've been at it for a long time, and from A&E's Intervention, the 60s on CNN. You did that Charles Barkley series on TNT. We talked about God and Country, Ramblin' Jack, about Jack Abramoff. I mean, so your body of work is great, and I'm so glad you made these films because they're very important. I guess the last question I'll ask you, we're already running over, so I hope you don't mind. Did you ever in a million years think you'd see Liz and Dick Cheney endorse Kamala Harris for president?
Stranger than fiction, for sure. That's one of the peculiarities of this. What I think of as the late Trump era is that we're having a lot of really unusual coalitions. But again, from the historians in the film will tell you that these kind of unusual coalitions are what happens in these eras of resistance to authoritarian rule. Our political system is being really challenged, and of course, that is going to make we have to make coalitions. We're going to have to bind together with people who think very differently than us, but who are unified in this one idea. And right now, the one idea is that Donald Trump shouldn't get anywhere near the White House again.
Absolutely not. Well, I'm off to, you can see I'm decked out in my Tim Walz emblazoned T-shirt, Mind Your Own Damn Business 2024, for those who are listening on a audio stream only. He is hosting a debate watch party in Mesa, Arizona, right down the street. So I'm going over there to see the future vice president and watch the debate. So I got to run. Dan Partland, thank you again. It was great talking to you. I appreciate both our interviews, and I hope we can do it again.
Thanks so much for having me,
All
Nicole.
right, you take care.
Pleasure.
For me too. Bye-bye. So the film Untruth is now streaming everywhere. Find it on your local streaming channel. Not local, your streaming channel. It's Apple Plus. It's on YouTube. It's on Prime. Google it, Untruth. It'll come up, and watch it because there's a lot of important information there. All right. With that, we are done. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I think we're just going to recap the debate, right? Unless I decide to bring on a guest to do it with me, but that's what we'll do. So if you miss the debate, whatever, we'll have highlights for you tomorrow. Okay? All right. With that, I'm going. See you mañana. Peace out, everyone.